Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, until it begins. What time it begins? 6:30. Oh no, I think it's
6 o'clock.
yeah. Let's see.
When is mine? Because I think I lost it.
Let's see. So we start, I think, in now. And then
All right. Brad, you are welcome to start us off as soon as you like.
let's see.
Good evening, everybody. Man, I'm so glad you came out. I'm surprised. You never know on a Thursday night in the middle of January who's going to show up, but thank you. I'm Brad Richardson, by the way. I'm a council member in the small town of Stallings. I was telling James Mitchell that if you drive east, he didn't know where Stallings was, by the way. You drive east past Matthews, you shift downshift, and then you upshift, you're in Indian Trail, and you just went through my town. Stallings. Mile wide, 8 miles long, or something like that. My mayor here, by the way, David's here. Welcome. He's been a long-time advocate for our town. Thank you for coming. This is an important night for us. We have what looks like a really long agenda, but our goal is it'll be really, really impactful, especially for those of you who are new. I'm going to turn it over to Bo. Bo's going to speak for just a moment. He'll introduce himself. I don't have to do that, and then he'll dismiss us for some food, I think. But thank y'all. That's my message tonight.
Thank you, Councilman and Interim Chair. Brad, I appreciate it. My name is Bo Mills. I am a senior advisor at FountainWorks. FountainWorks is a consulting firm that works with public agencies all across the state and the nation, primarily with local governments as our real sort of our niche. I'm joined here by my boss, Warren Miller, who's the president of FountainWorks, been in business for about 20 years. Warren and I worked together many, many years ago in Governor Jim Hunt's office, so we've had a partnership in different ways over many years. We're really fortunate. We're also joined by Emily Wilson, who is a senior member of the team at FountainWorks. We're really excited to be here. This is a repeat for FountainWorks. I think rinse and repeat is not really the right way to phrase it, but I think we did this program 2 years ago, right, Judy? Was it 2 years ago that we did this? And at that time, I was actually a guest speaker. I worked at the League of Municipalities at that time. I retired from the League last year and joined FountainWorks. So we're really excited to be with you all. Brad made it very clear. He says, so Bo, we're going to move through the program. We're going to get the stuff done on time and educate everyone. And we're going to do our very best to stay on schedule here. Sort of the logistics, real quick, the logistics. And remind me, Judy, where the closest restrooms are.
So you're going to go right out where you came in and look straight ahead down that hallway, and you'll see a sign that we have up, plus also signs that building services have where you can go straight. There's a couple to the left, a few more over kind of around the corner to the right, and the signage will get you there.
So back out to where you registered when you came in, sort of shoot straight across. There are some restrooms over that way. That's great. Thank you. This is a room you're going to get really familiar with because you're going to be here a lot as part of your service to CRTPO. And there's a couple things that we gave you that just sort of logistically when you came in. The first is we call it our workbook. This is what for today. You're going to use this document. It has the agenda at the front of it. It's something that we put together just to help guide your practices for today. It's a place where there'll be some additional information. Some of the materials that we're going to be talking about are in here, as well as places to take notes and impressions. So that's in there for you. We're going to do an icebreaker where we're going to ask you to look in there and grab some information at some point. But I think something that that you also were given today is really important, and this is the orientation handbook that your team here at CRTPO puts together for you. This is going to be a reference item as a new member. You're going to hear lots of acronyms and you're going to have things thrown at you constantly. So one thing is for sure, this is a learning process. Serving on the MPO is a learning process. Every time you come, you're going to learn something new. This is a great reference. It has Judy and her team put this together. It has the acronyms in there. It has some of the explanations of some of the work that you're doing. It's very, very helpful. One thing about the orientation packet that I really like is that it has that workbook that I mentioned. It has pictures of all the staff that you're going to be working with here at CRTPO. So I thought that was really helpful. What we want to accomplish today is really just to become a level set for you. As a new member or as a returning member of CRTPO, it's always great. It's very complicated work that you do. We really just sort of a level set, ground everybody at the same place. As I said earlier, you're going to continue to learn every time you come to one of these meetings. Every time you look at an agenda packet, you'll have that handbook. If there's something you don't understand, you can look. There's a good reference sheet there. And you're also going to learn how to work with the staff here. You're going to get a chance to meet with some of the key staff at CRTPO, so that's going to be something that's really important that you're going to get out of today. You're going to learn about how you can be most meaningful in your participation, meaningful in what you bring to CRTPO, and also meaningful in what you get out of it yourself and for your community. We hope that this begins to help you build confidence. As I said, you're not going to understand everything right away, but you'll have a chance to know where you can get information. And most importantly, you'll get a chance to know the staff at CRTPO, who then can help guide you through the information, knowing when to deep dive into the agenda, when maybe to not. You know, there's packets you get ahead of time. So we really hope that that's what we get out of this today, is just beginning to lay that groundwork in your continual learning process. So trying to think if there's anything else we wanted to touch on with that. Let's just sort of quickly review the agenda, if you would. Just pull that up, if you will, Merritt. So we'll have a couple, I'll just walk through this real quick. We'll have a couple, we'll take a dinner break. We'll have a couple guest speakers. We'll have an introductions process. We're going to do the traditional thing where everyone stands up and says something about themselves to the whole room. We're going to have a little exercise where folks will have a chance to engage with one another, learn a little bit on one-on-one, and then sharing with each other. So we'll do that. Then we'll talk about some of those core products, those key things. Warren and I will tag team through the program today. Warren will give you a little presentation on the core products that come out of the MPO. Then we'll have an opportunity to hear from some of your colleagues who have served on the MPO, sharing their perspective in a panel session. And then we'll talk a little bit about the roles and responsibilities. And this is the part that I think is most helpful, and I think, Bob, we've discovered in our interviews that this is really, really helpful. We call it CRTPO Big Topics, and you'll see around the room, we're going to give you a chance to go and meet with the particular staff involved in a particular area of the work that CRTPO does. And you'll have a chance to talk to folks and learn a bit. So it'll be a back and forth moving around the room. It's, after dinner, right? So the more we move, the better. Then we'll have a panel session where you'll learn more about an opportunity for your community, the Discretionary Grants Program panel, where we'll hear from some of the staff here and actually get a chance to hear also from some of your staff that have been involved from some of your communities that have been part of the discretionary grant program. And then we'll have a quick wrap up looking ahead what you're going to be doing. Neil will give you a big look ahead to what to expect. So, and then we'll wrap up. So hopefully we'll be done around 8:30, 8:35 is our goal. We'll do our very best. So again, sort of some of the outcomes we want to get is more connected relationships across with each other. You're going to get a chance to know each other. Lay that foundation of understanding, overview of the primary roles, and an opportunity to hear about the current landscape and the things that you should be expecting. So with that, I think we'll just move straight to dinner, if you're okay with that. So the dinner plan is you go ahead and grab your dinner. We're going to run, during dinner, we'll run a video. Is that right, Merritt?
That's right.
So everybody would just go ahead and grab their dinners now and come back to your places. We'll give you about how long, Judy, how long do you want to give them for dinner? We'll say, we'll start in 10 minutes. Go ahead and grab your dinners, come back, and we'll start the video in 10 minutes. So everybody back to your seats. Right this way. Thank you.
Come on, everybody sing!
All right, we'll get started with the video. So before we do, my name is Merritt McCulley. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator with CRTPO. And one thing that we know about all of your positions in your respective jurisdictions is that it's particularly results-oriented. And so it's very important, I think, sometimes to show the results of what we're trying to accomplish before we go over the process, which we'll do in great depth tonight. So we've compiled a video of different testimonials of people, staff members, and real people throughout our planning area, showing the projects that have been created with the help of CRTPO and the positive impact that those have had in communities around the planning area. So enjoy.
Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization is the metropolitan planning organization for the Charlotte urban area and provides transportation planning services for Iredell, Mecklenburg, and Union counties. A metropolitan planning organization, or an MPO for short, is a federally designated agency that allocates federal
Hey Doc, can we get the volume up a little bit more?
Transportation projects throughout an urban area. We guide policy and programming for all sorts of transportation projects throughout the area. We cover a wider area than most organizations do, with the exception of NCDOT, of course. Most transportation planning entities cover one city, one county. We cover 3. MPOs have to cover the entirety of the census-designated urban area, and that urban area extends into Iredell, Mecklenburg, and Union counties.
Hey everyone, I'm James Kelly, the Town of Waxhaw's Traffic and Transportation Engineer. We're out here today at the Downtown Pedestrian Plaza talking about safer streets, better connections, and how this project in combination with CRTPO has really brought forth a place where locals and residents can gather and enjoy. Through CRTPO's discretionary grant project programming, we have secured funding for this project to help bring projects like this closer to you.
Hey everybody, my name is Rick Bandazian Jr. I'm a property owner in Waxhaw of the old firehouse, which is now Middle James Brewing. And I've had the pleasure of working with people like James in the town of Waxhaw. And I've seen this project from start to finish. And if there's one message that I could relay, it's that there's just a greater sense of community. There are just more people out here. I'm here every day, and there's just more people meeting. There's more people taking their kids to get ice cream. And I can't speak highly enough of the CRTPO and the relationship that we've built with the town of Waxhaw.
I think probably one of the biggest misconceptions is that our focus is solely and exclusively on the automobile, on roadways. But we do play a major role in bicycle and pedestrian travel. We are actively working with CATS, and we also fund greenway projects as well. So it's truly a multimodal organization and not just a single modal organization.
I'm Maureen Ryan, and I'm the Communications Officer for the Town of Matthews. Today we're standing here at the 4 Mile Creek Greenway Tunnel. The tunnel connects the Mara ball fields to these neighborhoods around the Greenway. It connects people to downtown, and it connects people directly to Squirrel Lake Park. The tunnel gives pedestrians and cyclists a safe and easy way to cross South Trade Street. They don't have to deal with the busy traffic. They can just safely go underneath the street using the tunnel. The combination of federal, state, and local dollars to bring this project to fruition was so important to the town of Matthews. It helps to achieve our goal of making Matthews a walkable, well-connected town. A lot of the residents in Matthews like to walk and bike to get to their destinations, and now with this tunnel, they can. They can safely get across a busy South Trade Street to get to the Mara ball fields, downtown, to Squirrel Lake Park.
Hey, my name is Lindsay. I am a resident here in downtown Matthews, and we love the tunnel. great way to get around Matthews. It gives us direct access to the Greenway without having to cross Trade Street, which is a huge bonus for us. It also gives us access to the creek and just to friends' houses, neighborhoods, and really just the accessibility has been a game changer for my family.
The fact that I think we have a strong foundation built on collaboration. We have a lot of people who sit around the table and find value in what we do and see the merit in working together to solve common problems. So I think our foundation is a strong one. So that gives me hope for the organization going forward.
My name is Heather Maloney. I'm the transportation planner for the town of Huntersville. The town of Huntersville has worked with CRTPO to apply and receive a discretionary grant to complete our mobility plan, which helps us inform us on how we want our roadway network to be built. As part of the comprehensive transportation plan that CRTPO helps manage, we have an outline of major thoroughfares and boulevards that will be improved over future years, and our mobility plan through the discretionary grant funding helped us define what those roadways will look like. So the mobility plan helps us get a sense of what the full build out will be for each of these roads. The comprehensive transportation plan says that they need to be improved. The mobility plan helps us say what those improvements look like and set us up to apply for future funding, whether that's through the discretionary grant or submitting them to the State Transportation Improvement Program. For an example of a project that was informed by the mobility plan and also by our previous planning efforts in the town, including our bike plan. The mobility plan advanced the design of some pedestrian and bicycle crossings of our major thoroughfares, including a design for a pedestrian hybrid beacon down near North Mech High School.
My name is Stephanie Hood. I'm the principal of North Mecklenburg High School. This crosswalk has been several years in the making. Through a partnership with the town of Huntersville, which we have an amazing relationship with, and Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools, there was a great need to have some sort of safer crossing for students. And so through several years and our advocacy and CMS's advocacy and our partners, the town of Huntersville was able to work through and install this crosswalk here for our students. We are right here in the intersection, so as you can see, it's a very busy thoroughfare. So cars are coming back and forth. There was no stoplight here. The closest stoplight is several hundred feet down the road, and so students are not going to walk all the way down there to cross safely. So it had been a situation where students were waiting till cars subsided and just running across the road at any point, whether it's here, whether it's a little further down, whether it's down here, they were running across the road. The crosswalk has kind of pulled students together so they have a place very clearly marked where they can cross safely, and it is definitely helpful to us. Just having this crosswalk provide a safer medium for them to travel and be safe means everything to us. So we are just so thrilled that it's here.
We are involved in multimodal planning, and that we aren't just focused on roads and highways. That myth about us being focused on that sole mode is very much that. It's a myth. We can assist our member jurisdictions on solving some of their problems. We are and want to be partners with a host of different organizations because transportation touches everyone in one way, shape, or form. Even if you don't drive, even if you can't move around for whatever reason, you're dependent upon the mobility system in the region. So we touch everyone's lives in some way, shape, or form.
So I'm very pleased to introduce our next speaker, Alpesh Patel. Alpesh is the director of the Transportation Planning Division. And Alpesh is a longtime transportation leader. He's been with the department for many years and has also worked in the private sector for Cambridge Systematics. And we're very lucky in the state that Alpesh came back and is now working again with the department. And so I'd love to welcome. I think we have Alpesh. He's going to be joining us here on Zoom, and to say a few words. And as we're pulling Alpesh up, also very pleased. We'll also have Mark Stafford, who will be coming up to say a few words. Who's your Division 12 engineer. And also Felix Obregon, who is your Division 10 engineer. So with that, Alpesh, thank you so much for making time to speak here to the board of CRTPO. And with that, if you'd like to say a few words to the group, we'd be grateful. Alpesh, can you hear me? We are getting your audio on. Alpesh, hang on. Can you hear me? We are pulling up the audio as we speak. Okay, I think we're good. Thank you. Alpesh.
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, thank you. Yep, we can hear you.
Fantastic. Well, it's a privilege to be with you all this evening. I'm sorry that I cannot be there in person. But I just wanted to share a few quick remarks on behalf of our division, the Transportation Planning Division. I have come back to the state, as Warren alluded to, after having spent the last 9 years in private sector to lead this division. I've been back for about a year. And we are centrally based, so all of our staff is here in Raleigh, where I'm speaking to you from. We have nearly 60 staff that support long-range plans, project-level traffic forecasts, and travel demand models, which are essentially electronic representation of city and county street networks put into a sophisticated simulation. So we support those three activities, long-range planning, forecasting, and modeling, all over the state. We are partnered with CRTPO, which is one of 19 metropolitan planning organizations, or MPOs, in North Carolina. And we also work closely with 18 rural planning organizations, or RPOs. And together, these 38 organizations over 100 counties help to coordinate and implement both federal and state requirements for long-range plans and services, many of which that you saw in that video a few minutes ago. So I want to welcome the new members of the board to CRTPO to be part of this fraternity, joining in and supporting and advocating for long-range planning activities. This is an exciting time in North Carolina. We continue to see a lot of population growth, but also new businesses, emerging technologies and companies that are attracted to our state. So we have a unique opportunity to work arm in arm with organizations like CRTPO to help thoughtfully plan for, identify current and future transportation needs, and jointly work together to help prioritize, fund, and construct improvements that address those future needs. And in many ways, the work that we do with CRTPO through our division is the starting point of that entire spectrum, the arc that begins with early needs analysis and the identification of multimodal transportation issues locally, as well as looking at population and employment growth, engagement with public and stakeholders locally. Those are all the ingredients of good planning. And I'd like to highlight just three things really quickly that represent and continue to support the longstanding relationship that we've had with CRTPO. The first is the 2055 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, or the MTP, which is soon to be adopted. Our staff has worked closely with Bob and Neil and their team from the beginning of the update process nearly 3 years ago, including helping be on the committee that selected the consultant that's supporting the plan. We've been part of the steering committee for the MTP. We've provided input on project sheets and information that supports the MTP and that will also be transferred to a comprehensive transportation plan or a vision plan that's behind the MTP. And we've been coordinating with our federal partners, Federal Highway Administration, and helping review the draft of the plan and ensuring that it is in compliance with federal requirements. So that has been a multi-year effort, pretty monumental. And as you near the finish line, we're also supporting the air quality conformity for that MTP update. Charlotte is one of 3 areas that are in non-attainment in our state, in which the transportation plan has to demonstrate that the activities and recommendations will not cause new air quality violations or worsen existing violations, and that the plan itself helps to conform with air quality standards in our state. So there are members of my team, including Andy Bailey, who supervises the team that is over the Metrolina area, as well as Roger Castillo, that are working with the CRTPO staff to ensure that the conformity determination is completed well, that the conformity analysis is reviewed by our federal partners, such as Federal Highway and the Federal Transit Administration, and that the engagement component of this analysis that dovetails with the MTP is also wrapped up here in the next few weeks. So again, just an example of how we are closely working together in lockstep in these activities. And I've also had the privilege, lastly, to be part of a strategic staffing and resource study that started last spring. This was a study to help take a step back and evaluate the overall health and organizational culture and the roles and responsibilities of CRTPO, both as it exists today, but also to evaluate opportunities for CRTPO to position itself, to prepare for emerging changes in our industry related to resiliency and energy and technology. So we've had a very productive set of meetings over the last few months, just asking some questions and reflecting on the roles that staff play today, and even beginning to look at adjustments that could be made within the organization in the future to ensure that there is a strong span of control for management, that there are career ladders for staff to continue to move up in responsibility, and that the organization continues to work in a very robust way, both not only in Mecklenburg County, but regionally, partnering with other MPOs and with the state to be positioned to take advantage of these dynamic changes that are occurring in our state, and to even be ready as the national transportation picture begins to change. This year, the current reauthorization bill will be coming due, and there will be lots of talk about new requirements that will impact long-range plans as we move forward. So just a well-timed opportunity to identify where CRTPO as an organization is headed in the future. And it's been a privilege to be part of it.
Alpesh, thank you.
So I don't want to.
Oh, please.
Yeah, I don't want to take up any more of your time, but just wanted to say again how exciting it is to work with the staff locally and to continue to build upon the strong foundation that we have in North Carolina.
Alpesh, thank you so much for making time tonight and for sharing a few perspectives with the board. We really appreciate your time. We're going to let you get back to your obligations, and again, really thank you for making this time. So we're gonna wish you well, and we're gonna bring up now Mark and Felix, and I have two microphones. We're gonna, if we had a third one, we could juggle. All right.
All right, we're not going to go in order, so I'm always having to go behind 10, so we'll go out of order. I am Mark Stafford, Division 12 engineer. So for those of you, there's some in here, obviously, that have been around quite a while, know a lot about the department. For those of you that may be new, there are 14 divisions across North Carolina. Division 12, we make up 6 counties. Iredell County is in Division 12, and that's our representation here at CRTPO. And so when you look at division tasks that we look after, you've got the big piece that applies to the MPO is the prioritization and development of the STIP, right? And so we're going through the prioritization P8 right now, and that's a big part of what we do at the division. We have folks we have planners, and then we work with the MPO to develop the STIP. Once a project makes it into the STIP, we have our project development team. We have project managers. We hire a lot of consultants. We work with you locally to come up with, if you have, as part of our complete streets, if you have a plan for pedestrians and bicycles, we try to incorporate that and work with your staffs to do that. And then on an O&M side, when you have a pothole that's not in your jurisdiction, you can call us, right? And so that's a big part of how we maintain our infrastructure across the 6 counties. So when it comes to STIP development and prioritization, obviously, as you learn more about tonight, and for those of you that have not been through a prioritization cycle, right, we do them about every 2 years. And so part of that is you have your local division input points and methodology about the same way you have an MPO methodology of coming up with the projects that you rank. And it's really our desire to meet our locals and municipalities and governments with the projects that they want as well. And so that's a big part of what we do when we go through this cycle together. Then, obviously we've had large projects in Statesville, right? I know the I-77 and I-40 statewide project that took, 10 years to build, right? There was a couple of phases, right, on our behalf, a couple of phases. To where we go to Morrisville, where we're building NC 150 today, right? And Brawley School Road. And there's a lot of projects like that. And it's taken a long time just to get through into the STIP, and then from the STIP, once it's made it into getting to where we are today. And so it's our role to help navigate through that. I know I looked at Commissioner Qualls in her time there as being a strong advocate for public outreach. And it's one of the reasons we have a public information officer embedded into that particular contract to work with their PIO there in Mooresville to try to make that a better place. One of the other things, and I'll turn it over to Felix, that we've implemented in a lot of places, like Mooresville and some other jurisdictions, is we have quarterly meetings. Right? Obviously, we have the MPO, TCC, and all that. But once a project really makes it in, we have these STIP projects. We meet with the local jurisdictions to kind of go over where their locally administered projects are and how we can assist with that, as well as our larger TIP projects. We've been doing that with Mooresville for quite some time. We're getting ready to start in Statesville. Erica has scheduled those for this year, so we're getting online with that. We do that across the other MPOs that we deal with as well. And that really helps us on that once that project's really getting close or even under construction, kind of meeting with the locals to do that. And so with that, I'll turn it over to you, Felix.
All right, perfect. Thank you. I'm not sure how many of y'all are familiar with our structure at NCDOT, so I'll just take a step back and just kind of give you a little bit of a big picture of how we are organized. NCDOT is broken down into 14 geographical divisions. Mark is over Division 12. I'm Division 10, which encompasses 5 counties: Anson, Cabarrus, Mecklenburg, Stanley, and Union County. And so the other thing that I think is important for me, and I think important to the department, I'm not sure, I just want to go ahead and read you guys our NCDOT mission statement, because it's important to kind of, for us to know what we're trying to achieve with our goals and what our mission is, because our mission definitely aligns with the mission of CRTPO. So our mission reads, connecting people, products, and places safely and efficiently with customer focus, accountability, and environmental sensitivity to enhance the economy and vitality of North Carolina. So it's a lot there, but certainly one of the things that we definitely strive is coordination and collaboration. And actually, last night I had the opportunity to go to Lake Norman TC, and one of the items that kind of surfaced at that meeting is just relationships. So part of the reason that Mark and I are here is to make sure that we are able to create those relationships with all the different municipalities that are here, because it's important whenever you guys want to have a conversation, then you guys can pick up the phone, call us, we're able to have that dialogue. I've got Councilman Clarence, he's got my cell phone, so anytime he's got a problem, not a problem, he's got an opportunity, he'll text me. But certainly, like Mark mentioned, we definitely want to be accessible to the different municipalities. As a matter of fact, I had an opportunity to do a Facebook Live with Indian Trail, Mayor Cohn, where we talked about one of our bridge projects that is going over a railroad, and the importance of that project, just the fact that it's going to improve safety by removing the conflict between vehicles and the rail. So certainly we're here as a partner to build a relationship and help each other out to achieve, I guess, goals for the community. And like Mark mentioned, we're definitely available to meet. We don't meet quarterly like Mark does with some of the different municipalities, but that's certainly one of the things that we're striving for in 2026, to be able to have those quarterly meetings whenever you guys would want to be able to have those meetings. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna look over Wayne here for a second, because I've met with Wayne and some of the town folks about a month ago, and then actually next Tuesday, we're gonna have a follow-up conversation again to talk about some of their priorities, some of the projects that they have, and again, how we can build a relationship, be collaborative, and provide good roads to the community here in North Carolina and in this particular region. So Mark did an excellent job in talking about the overall of how we coordinate with CRTPO. And I guess what I'll talk about kind of how we're structured here at the Division 10, where there's 3 major units that we have. Like Mark mentioned, we've got the project delivery, the planning before a project actually goes into construction. Then we have the next unit, which it's our construction unit, where we oversee the construction of all the projects. And then it moves on to the operation and maintenance, which is our maintenance division, where we deal with potholes, potentially putting some brine over tomorrow and tomorrow and Saturday, or Friday. Yeah, tomorrow's Friday. Sorry, tomorrow and then Sunday on the Saturday on the interstates for the potential snow. So certainly, we've got a lot of staff here in Division 10. We have close to 400 staff members here to provide good customer service to all of our residents in Division 10. And again, we're here to be a partner with all the different municipalities, and certainly you guys can reach out anytime, and we can be there to assist and work together.
Okay. Thank you. All right, thank you. if you're not familiar with the way DOT works, you just heard from two really important people. They're going to be your friends, I promise you. All right, so we're going to do something real quick where we get to know each other. This is a quick stand-up exercise, and we're going to be really sensitive on time. But this is something really clever, smart people like Emily think of these fun things to where people can engage with each other. So in your books, there should be, in your workbooks that I mentioned, there's a thing called Introductions. Open it up, and it has a little sticker in there at the bottom of the page. Let me show them, Lisa, yours, if I could. All right, if you look at the bottom of Lisa's page here, it has parking space. All right, so take note of that, because we're going to ask you to go find somebody who pairs up with a parking space, or someone may have a bus. I don't know, does anyone here have a bus? If you have a bus, I want you to find probably the one that pairs up with you, which would be a bus stop. So grab that, take a look at it. We're going to ask you to stand up. All the board members and the alternates, go ahead and stand up and find your friend. And I want you to find that partner, and I want you to ask them some things. First, what's your name? And what organization you're here for? And then we want you to find out if, from your partner, tell them if you could be any form of transportation. Let's see. Go ahead and slip. If you could be any form of transportation, what would you be? And then find out what is something you're excited to do on the CRTPO board to move the organization forward. So go ahead and find that partner. Emily and I will be here to help you if you need some questions, but find your partner with your title. One match. What are you? Let's see. We have roundabout. So we want to find
I have 6 of them in town. I can talk to myself.
a roundabout sign. What, Mayor? Amelia? What are you? A map.
She's got a map.
Okay. What goes with the map? What goes with the map? Everyone back to your seats. All right, Justin, what were you?
Actually, I was a blank.
You were blank. Okay.
Actually, the blank.
That's my story. Oh, that's your story, and you're sticking to it. You know how to fill in blank spaces. That's right. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I'm going to turn it over to Warren, but before I do, I wanted to mention a couple of things that I should have mentioned at the top. We have two things that we want to get feedback from you all on. On that workbook on the front page of the agenda, there's a UPC code for an exit survey. If you'll just take a quick snapshot of that and get that up on your phones. And before you leave today, go ahead and fill that exit survey out. And then another thing that your incredible team here at CRTPO really wants some feedback on, which is the 2026 Member Academy Survey. And this is essentially an opportunity for you to sign up for deep dives over the course of the year on particular topics. And that was also in the handouts when you came in. It was a separate piece of paper. It's two pieces. It's 4 pages that sort of describe it. You can do one of two things. You can fill that out in hard copy. I guess we still do that these days. You could fill out the hard copy, or you could do the UPC code and fill it out digitally. So maybe do it, take it with you and fill it out and bring it back to the next meeting or something like this. Is how they gauge your interest in continuing education around the work that you're going to be doing with CRTPO. So with that, I will hand it back to Warren. Thank you, Warren.
Great. Thanks, Bo. So want to spend just a few minutes on some of the core products coming out of this organization here. And really what I want to do is just give you a chance to take a look at these. These are on starting at page 6 in your workbook. So if you flip over to your workbook here, you can see these bullets. And I'm not going to run through all of the bullets here, but I want to introduce the staff that are the lead points of contact for each of these. So when we look at the comprehensive transportation plan, would Curtis Bridges stand up? So I think he's in the restroom. Okay. Oh, all right. Well, we'll come back. We'll introduce Curtis. So this is your long.
Hey, Curtis.
Hey. All right. That is an introduction. Yep. So this is your long-range transportation vision. You can see the elements here. This is one of your core products. This is your long-term, your 50-year regional transportation vision. And so this is one of the things that is required through federal law. And these are some of the aspects of this product. So your CTP, one of your core products. I'm going to go to the next one here. Okay. So the MTP, and I want to go ahead and introduce someone who needs no introduction, Neil Burke. Neil, can you stand and wave? Actually, I actually love the applause because these folks are really considered the top among their peers here in the state. You'll have a chance to talk to Neil a little bit more. This product gets into the policies and programs, projects that are part of your transportation plan, focusing on congestion, safety, land use, mobility choices. Neil is a point person for this. You'll have a chance to talk to Neil a little bit more later on this evening. The next staff person I want to introduce, Travis Johnson. There he is in the back. Say hi to Travis. Travis is your lead on the Transportation Improvement Program, your TIP. And this is when you all, as a region, identify and prioritize your projects over the next 10-year time frame. So think about your TIP as your next 10 years. These are some of the elements to it. next, we'll go ahead and introduce Bob Cook again as your point of contact for the UPWP. So this is your annual budget and how planning and activities are funded, how the state and federal dollars are allocated, and how the budget is adopted under the federal planning guidelines. These are some of the elements of that. And then next, I'd like to just bring your attention to the public involvement plan. And so Judy Dellert and Merritt McCulley, who are behind the podium and in the back, and I've been very involved in thinking through the plans for this evening. But these are the elements of the public involvement plan. You do this with your partners in the community, and they're integral. You have, an incredible reputation for engaging the community in your work. It's very meaningful, and it leads to better plans, and it leads to moving more quickly when when you're able to engage the community. So this is one of the products that you all are involved with. So I believe those are the key products. Really wanted to make sure that you put a name to the product. You'll have a chance to talk to these staff members again. And if you have some questions, want you to be thinking about any questions that you'd like to ask them. As you, a little bit later on, we'll get some one-on-one or some small group conversations with the staff. So with that, Bo, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
I'll shift right to the next part of the program, and I'll invite our two speakers to join us up here at the front. Just before I introduce these two key members of the board, past and present, I want to just recommend to you that your MPO, I've worked with MPOs all across the state. This is the preeminent MPO in the state. It doesn't surprise you, I know that, but you are playing such an important role in setting policy and working with your communities and driving the economy, making transportation. But you have an extraordinary staff here, and they do extraordinary things. So I just wanted to make sure you understand how fortunate you are to have the great staff that Warren just introduced to you. And when you go through these stations, you'll have a great opportunity to have more dialogue with them and take advantage of that opportunity. We're really fortunate to have two of your peers, if you will, speak to you about what it's like to serve on an MPO and what it really means and what it's all about. Brad is your interim chair. Brad is the council member in Stallings, economic developer for the first 15 years of his career with the city of Charlotte, in fact, and then now as an investment advisor in Stallings. We're really fortunate to have you join us as the incoming chair. And then Lisa's the outgoing chair. Woo! Well, wait, don't be too enthusiastic. Whoa. The outgoing chair, who is on the commission in Mooresville, has served 15 years in Mooresville, noted leader there, awarded many things. I was looking at your bio. It's very long. I'm not going to read it out, I promise. But also a mortgage banker by profession. Is that correct? Yeah. That's right. So we're really fortunate to have them sort of give you sort of the real poop on what's going on. So I'm just going to ask you a couple questions, and you guys can riff on it for a few minutes. Why does the work of the CRTPO matter both within the transportation system and in the communities it serves? And I'll start with you, Lisa.
Oh, okay. All right. Obviously, it's important. The number one thing that everybody gets complaints about in their community, I don't care how big your community is or how small it is transportation and traffic, and the multi options that people want to be able to get around. And we're all connected, as we all know. The road doesn't stop at the end of your community, and we're only as successful as the community 2 communities away. So for Mooresville, it's not just all about Davidson or Troutman or Statesville. We're only as successful as Charlotte and as Union County, and even into our other MPO partners. So it all starts with, you have to have, I dumb it down to people and say you have to have a line on a map, and that map has to be recognized by the MPO in order for you to get a project. So if you don't start with a line, which is you can go through the whole graph of the CTP, if you don't start with something on a map that is recognized here, you're not going to get a project. That's, a real simple way of it. So it gets boring. Those of you that have been here for a while, we go, oh my gosh, we're coming again. I come down and go, gosh, I hope we have oatmeal cookies. So that's how I prepare myself. Of like, we're going to get paid in cookies. So, but when you see a project come to fruition, and then it's all worth it. So it's all worth it to me at 6:45 a.m. every morning. Is what's going on behind my house. Literally my house kind of backs up to what's going to be the widened part of Brawley School Road. And when I say backs up to it, the laydown yard, which is the office, if you will, that they made, is right behind my house. There's a fence, there's about 25 feet, there's my house, and that's my bedroom. So at 6:45 every morning, this gentleman, now when we get done with this project, I'm going to come give him an award. He has really loud mufflers, and he is on time at the exact time every day. So I know if I'm not already up at 6:30, by 6:45, I'm going, oh, okay, gotta go. So consistent. But to see those guys out there, I haven't seen any women out there, so I'm going to say guys, but they are doing an amazing job. They're working right here beside the road, and people are driving through there, and they, knock on wood, not had, I don't think, any kind of incidents. I hate to put that out in the universe because they've had great safety, but it is rewarding to finally see that. I bought my house in 2002, and the map and the plan was presented to me when I was looking at the house. That project just started in 2024. They let the project. It's going to take until 2027. So that's the depressing part about transportation, but it had to start somewhere. It had to start with a plan, and finally it's into fruition. So that was a long answer to a very short question, but there you go.
Brad, do you want to add to it? Or I was going to actually sort of embellish the question a little bit. How does CRTPO bring these local communities together to sort of align? What is your thought on that?
Yeah, good. Let me just first say, that thing that you just did, Warren, with the 101s, I'd encourage all of y'all to bring that to our meetings. If I could have learned in the first couple of years what those 5 acronyms meant, it would have been great. It would have made my learning so much more. There are days when I walk out there thinking, I really wish I knew all these acronyms, but I don't think I. And then I realized I wouldn't have room for anything else in my brain. It's a lot. So thank you all for being part of this. I think this is helpful for us because, as you know, Lisa said, there's lines on a map. There's also other lines on a map. There are borders, and roads don't respect borders. And we tend to think, I think a lot of my town, but it's hard to think about my town without thinking about Clarence's town and John's town. We're really close together. I think this organization is the most helpful. Once you get past the dryness of it, and Lisa, it's dry. It's okay. It's dry, but it's required, and it's important work. I want to communicate that to you. It's really important work when you step back and think about what we're doing. But it brings us together because we're elected to represent, in my case, 16,000 people in a metro area of 1 million. But here, I'm supposed to put a little bit of that aside and work for my town, but work for the region. That's pretty exciting to me. I get to know a little bit about your towns and your communities, what you need, and there might be a rare day coming where I give up something to help you. That hasn't happened yet, not because I wouldn't. There's not an opportunity very often, but when we think regionally and take a really high view of this community, what it is, where it used to be, where it's come from. I'm a native. I've been here 55 years. Many of you are as well, so you've seen sort of the growth of the community. There have been people sitting in this room 30 years ago who were planning the roads I'm driving on today. That's pretty exciting, and that's about as exciting as it gets when transportation, I think, transportation planning. You realize you're building roads that your grandkids are going to drive on one day, and that's pretty cool. Did I answer your question okay?
Yeah, that was right on target. So what makes this work important right now, given today's transportation opportunities and challenges? So thinking about where we are today and the opportunities and challenges, how is this particularly important?
Me? I'll go first.
We'll go to Lisa.
I think it's limited funding. I mean, isn't that everything these days? We're reliant upon federal dollars to build many of the roads in my town. That flow through NCDOT and that they get prioritized through our planning and our listing and ranking of projects. we're really dependent upon that. And by extension, we're public servants and we have to be good stewards of that money. So it's nice to be able to look back and say there was an objective plan that said with a limited amount of dollars, we have a really good staff who helps us objectively score what's the best priorities. I think that's kind of cool. And I think it's really important in a limited budget situation that we all can come together at the table and objectively look at what the region's needs are.
Sure. In light of the transit tax passing for Mecklenburg County, this is a really, really exciting time for our region. And it doesn't matter if you're outside the Mecklenburg County, like we are in Iredell or Union. This is a really cool time to be part of this organization, to be able to see what that tax is going to be able to do. And I think it's incumbent of all of the board members to take and continue that message, especially for our Union County folks and Iredell and our other counties, taking that to the state, going here, Mecklenburg County was successful with this. Look at these projects that have pushed forward very quickly because they owned it in their respective county, allowing the other counties to be able to do that. So, if we want to succeed as a state, but it's going. I'm excited for the board and to see how that money gets put into use, and it's going to be quickly.
Trust me, there are counties all across the state that are watching what's happening in Mecklenburg and excited about it. Thank you.
Yeah, so don't screw it up.
Yeah, don't screw it up. I'm going to sort of a little off the script a minute. I'm thinking about your participation, Lisa, over the years, yours, Brad, in the past and going forward. You've got folks in here who may be new to the organization. I'm also excited that we have some past members here, which makes this more than orientation. It's really an educational primer. But thinking about, as a board member, what's the valuable process? What will make them more valuable to the organization? A little personal advice to them. And Lisa and I talked about that, just understanding for, what you're going to get out of this, what you could bring to the table. So think about that for a moment and share with folks as a participant, what's some of your advice to them?
So my number one is go back to your respective communities and find out who your transportation planner is. And if you don't have one, speak to your town manager about who is filling that role. Is it a third party? But find out who that planner is and spend time with them. That's, most are like, Andrew's on the TCC. Every community probably has somebody that's on the TCC committee. And that's the biggest secret, folks. Your TCC members are the ones that get the work done. We just sit here and eat cookies.
Right, Andrew?
So,
Andrew, you're ready to do some work
yeah,
there.
That's my biggest thing is working closely with your TCC person about what are the needs and how you can bring that back to the table here.
I'll be more practical, and that is don't give up. It's going to be really hard if you're new. Tony, I look at you. You've been to a couple of meetings. I can't overestimate how, did I say that right? Overestimate how overwhelming some of this stuff is. It's complicated at first, Brian shaking your head. I think I've been here 4 or 5 years. I don't really know. But the first year I wasn't really here. I'd come into the room and I'm like, this is way over my head. I don't like long-term planning. It takes 50 years to get anything done. That's not me. The acronyms, it's going to take, I've got a day job. I don't have time to figure all this out. So there was real temptation every third Wednesday night of the month to come up with something better to do. And that draw is really strong, particularly for those of you who live a little further away. So that'd be my encouragement. Stick with it. There's a rhythm, and then there's friendships to be built. There's relationships to be made. There's connections that you will make. There are acronyms that will start to make sense. There's really only 4 or 5 that are really important. The rest of them you just ignore. And I think we just talked about those a minute ago. Don't give up would be be consistent. You're put here for a reason. Your board put you here. I think at the end of the first year, if you plug in, you'll really get a better sense of what the importance of this is. The second thing I'd say is leverage and get to know Mark and Felix and their teams. Boy, if I'd have known Felix 5 years ago, or Felix's predecessor, I could have been so much more effective in my town. I just didn't think about taking a moment to give him a call. So I would take him up, them both up on their invitation to get to know you and your town.
Those are two great advice. They actually complement one another in some ways because you understand, you get that feedback from your local planner who's really deep in understanding how these things fit together, the local perspective, the regional perspective, the state perspective, how those all things fit together with that technical expertise. And then the collaboration with your partners at the table. I think that's should be motivating. We've got maybe one question or two questions if anyone has any. You have got these two long-serving expert folks here, especially Lisa. You've been around with this stuff for a while. Anybody have a quick question for them? One quick question? All right.
Hey, Bo, I've got one comment.
Yeah, sure, Wayne.
And Bob may not remember this, but I've been around here since 1998 when it was Mumbo.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm proud of is both Lisa and Brian, or Brad.
Yeah.
And because I am feeling very good about the future of CRTPO. And I appreciate all the comments you said because they are spot on. You do have to stay in the game. And it does take forever. It takes 8 to 12 years to get a project off the ground from when you're thinking about it. And you're right, you got to stay in the game. And I appreciate what Lisa's brought to this organization for the last ever how many years. So I am happy about the future of CRTPO.
That is great. And we all know that in the global economy, it's really about regions competing against other regions, not just in the United States, but globally. And that's why transportation is at the center of economic opportunity. It's a really critical part. You know that from your work many years, Brett, that this region is in a really good place. And we have that model down in Atlanta to avoid in many ways a lot of the challenges they've had in Atlanta. So thank you, Wayne, for those comments. We're going to take a break, and I think to stay on track, we normally do a 10-minute break. I'm going to challenge you all, if you're up for this, if everybody's okay, for a 5-minute break. Say 30 seconds, 5 minutes. So that means we're going to be back in place at, I can't see the time. 7:21. Back in your seats at 7:21. Is everybody okay with that?
Yep. Yes.
All right, 7:21, back in your seats.
Get it twice. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started, everybody. CRTPO runs a tight ship. We stay on track. All right. So I'd like to ask you to refer to your pages 2 and 3. Actually, page 7 on the workshop workbook. And this is also, there's more information about roles and responsibilities on page 2 and 3 of your handbook. So when you came in, you got 2 documents. The handbook was one of them. That's got some more deeper, detailed information in it. So you can refer to these things. They're listed in both places. So I want to briefly hit the highlights here. You've got the reference material at your fingertips. And we will have a moment just for some questions here. But the CRTPO is a 3-legged stool. It's your staff, it's your TCC, it's the board. All 3 legs are critical. It starts with your staff. And your staff, they're the people that are waking up every day thinking about transportation and regional transportation. And it's true. Every day they're thinking about it. It's really amazing what you have here in terms of the resource. So they bring expertise, technical expertise. They think about how to get those products done that we talked about a little bit earlier. So they're on top of that. They're managing those deliverables that you have to produce. They're engaging your community. They're analyzing information to be able to help support you in your decision making, help support the TCC in the decision making. So they're the boots on the ground. They're the people that are thinking and working regionally every day and making this whole enterprise go. So if we think about the TCC, this is the TCC, one of the acronyms, the Technical Coordinating Committee. These are the experts that come from each of the local jurisdictions, and they get together and meet, and they bring their expertise, and they develop policy recommendations to the board. So these are people that you have within your jurisdictions, and they're meeting and bringing that local perspective, but also thinking regionally and giving you what you need to be able to help make decisions. So they're thinking about what are the regional goals, how can we bring our local and just sort of overall transportation planning expertise into the mix. And so they're an incredible resource that you have. And you have a strong TCC, and they're working, and I think as Brad said, I think Brad or Lisa said, get to know them. They're people that can help answer questions for you and be a resource for you as a board. The third group, of course, is you, the board, and you are providing that leadership that's needed to make this work. You're the oversight. And so you're at the policy level. You're thinking about how do I bring my local perspectives? How do we bring local perspectives to this regional effort? And when you work, as Bo is saying, the ability to work regionally is a competitive advantage. Your role is to be able to ask questions, to be able to process the information that's being given to you by the staff and the TCC, and provide direction at the policy level. As Brad says, it takes some time to get into this, but you start to develop a greater understanding as you go along. These are the big things that you do as a board. And we'll just take a moment we'll have time for just some Q&A. But I do want to just hit on the last point here, which is just overall, what are some of the things that, this is on the do's and the don'ts here. This list here, so you're developing long-range plans, you're allocating these federal transportation funds, You're ensuring that you have this engaged, continuing cooperative planning process. You as an MPO are engaging all of your partners. So other elected officials, the public, your private sector partners, your others in the region. And you're facilitating this collaboration, both locally, regionally, but also with your state and federal partners who are really critical to helping you get things done, as your division engineers talked about. All of these partners are important to your process. So you're involved in all of these things. What you don't do is you don't, as an MPO, you don't design or construct transportation projects. You're not controlling zoning or land use decisions. You don't have taxing authority. You don't operate transit or traffic systems, and you don't lobby. So these are some of the things that you don't do as an organization. Again, very high level, but when you think about what are the legs of the stool, what are the different partner people in the organization doing, and what are the things that you do and don't do, this is the high level to just keep in mind, so you can use this in your handbook to just as a reference point. But I think at this time we want to. But was there anything you want to add, just as context to this?
No, I was just going to add that you don't want it when you think of strict do's and don'ts. That doesn't mean you can't be innovative or creative. This MPO has actually got some projects you're going to learn more about when you go around the room here, like the SEAM, which is a regional trail project, or the Beyond 77, which is thinking about I-77 in a broader context. And their initiative, I know one of the things you're going to hear from Kendall about that is the outreach to the business community around I-77. So there's some innovative things that happen. And when it talks about federal funds for lobbying activities, I just want to clarify, there's nothing that's against the rules about going to Washington and being part of an educational process. And in fact, some MPOs do take folks up there. If a member of Congress asks for you to come explain something, that's an opportunity. I know some of your staff go up there. So there are opportunities to engage in educational activities associated with federal funding. You just can't go up there with a lobbyist and say, we need to get this project through, we gotta, or you're not gonna, that's a different thing. You can't use those federal dollars for that. So just want to be real clear.
Yeah, that's great, Bo. And in your handbook, it's got more details on this that provide some more guidance. But I think we've got a couple minutes, and would just love to open it up. The folks that are new, if you've got questions, or folks that are the veterans that want to share any perspective on what we just shared in terms of roles and what you do and you don't do, this is a safe space to ask questions or share your wisdom with the group. So just open up any questions that just come to mind.
One thing the MPO does not do is they do not negotiate contracts.
Yeah, does not negotiate. The MPO does not negotiate contracts. And when you're talking about contracts, Lisa, what would be an example of that?
Any kind of managed lane contract or any kind of specific project.
Yeah.
The DOT is going to let the contract forward. The MPO does not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Offer some input of key things, but they do not approve that contract or.
Yeah, that's good.
So thinking of managed lanes in particular, just to be clear.
Or any
other contract.
Or as an example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Other questions or just other things that you would share?
26
Yeah. Yeah.
Being brand new in this environment, like Brian and Brad have identified that, and I would address a question to the former chair. I was here in November and watched you handle a massive crowd of people, and you did it in a very classy manner, but you were in control of the room. Any advice you may have going forward on that? Because I think post-COVID, at least at local government, I've seen a different attitude of the public, even to the respect of others, and you did great. What can we learn from how you did that?
Lisa, I'm going to give you, you got the microphone. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's more of just setting the parameters up front. So, as Brad's watched it the last several years, and I watched it for the former chair before that, there's going to be public comment. Here are the guidelines. It's 20 minutes of it, and it's the board chair's discretion. Do you let somebody go 2 or 3 minutes, or do you let it go for an hour? How long do you want to go? So controlling it up front. But as we all know, the first time that you let one person go longer, then everybody expects it to go longer. Or if you do public comment for 45 minutes, and it's normally only 20 minutes, that's going to set the expectation. So, and I'm just a bitch, so that's just easy.
I would love to. No, you're not. I just open it up to anyone on the staff. If you just want to share, your perspective on how you handle contentious issues. Neil, I'm sort of walking towards you.
The nicest guy in the room.
I know, absolutely the nicest person.
It's a lot of proper prior planning. Whatever type of intel we have about a potential contentious issue, we try to learn as much about it as we can, try to coordinate with the affected jurisdictions, coordinate with NCDOT, make sure we're as prepared as possible for that 6 o'clock start time. And then, every board meeting is different. Some of the board agendas that we've had, it looks like, this will be easy. Here we are 2.5 hours later. So expect the unexpected, but just know that your staff will be coordinating with local staff. If we are aware of a potential controversial thing, try to get you all in and out of here as soon as possible, because we respect the fact that many of you are coming from a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour away, and you have that same drive back. And we really appreciate you all serving on this board and taking your time on that. So we try to make your time as effective as possible when you're here in this room.
Neil really is the nicest person I've ever met.
Russ, do you a question?
No, I
or comment?
want to say one other thing too. As a new board member, if you're not used to this, you're going to be inundated with people's concerns about projects that come up. I can't tell you how many emails I've received since that meeting about stopping the I-77 South Managed Lane project. At that meeting, we had 100+ people here. Lisa did a great job at capping it at 20 minutes for the maximum time. But the nice thing is, and you didn't have to do this, but a lot of board members stayed after and listened to those people's concerns. If they took the time out from their families to come to this meeting to express their concerns, then you owe them the just basic decency of hearing them out. And sadly, with these emails, when you get them, it's a copy and paste thing. Everybody's sending you, and I never respond to those when they're copy. When you get 5 of them in the same morning and they all say the same thing, I don't even pay attention to them. But you can tell the difference when you get them and people, they are genuine with their concerns. Respond to them. Or have your transportation planner respond to them, which is what I do. So make him the bad guy.
Yeah. Well, how you can help your staff. Your staff can help support you. Yeah. Any questions? Folks that are new, folks that are been here. Just when you think about roles and what you do at the MPO. Anything else that is popping to mind? All right. Well, we wanted to touch on this. This is your 30,000-foot view of roles, what you do. Keep your handbook close to you and your workbook. And Bo, I'm going to turn it over to you for our next segment.
Just real quick, Lisa referred to this briefly in her comments. 1 cent sales tax in Mecklenburg County, pretty extraordinary stuff. It's going to, I think. You're going to continue to hear more and more about this. What we were going to ask is Jarrell Leonard with the staff here to just give you a quick update and let you know where things are, which is just at the beginning. And just know that you're going to continue to learn more. We're not going to really get into conversations about this right now, but we just wanted to sort of level set with where things are today, I think is the best way to describe that, Jarrell.
Is this on?
Yes. Here, you can use this.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jarrell Leonard with CRTPO. I'm the transit planner. So I'm going to give you a quick update on the referendum that passed in November 2025, known as the PAVE Act. The PAVE Act, which is known formally as the Project for Advancing Vehicle Infrastructure Enhancements Act, was passed by voters in Mecklenburg County in November 2025 with majority voters. The PAVE Act creates a public transportation authority that covers all of Mecklenburg County and the towns. With that, it takes over the existing responsibilities handled by the City of Charlotte through CATS, also known as the Charlotte Area Transit System, and that has been managed since 1998. The PAVE Act basically breaks down funding in these aforementioned ways: 40% going towards roads, which goes to the municipalities and towns in Mecklenburg County, 40% goes towards rail, and 20% goes towards bus. Now, the funding of the roads will go directly to the towns and municipalities, so stay tuned with that portion. There is a creation of a public transportation board, which is a 27-member board that will be directly represented, including the towns as well as the county and the state, known as MPTA. Since the fall of 2025, CRTPO has been working with a consultant to assess how this will impact us as a metropolitan planning organization, which you just saw in the previous slides, particularly our federal processes involving transit, also roadway and other modes of transportation from the PAVE Act. Also, the inclusion of those MPTA membership will be included in our TCC and board by the latter portion of 2026. And they do have a website set up now. It is called RIDE, M as in man, P as in Paul, T as in Tom, A as in Apple.com for more information. And the main representation will be likely David Howard, who has been appointed as the MPTA board chair, and the vice chair is Frank Emery. That wraps up the referendum update. Anyway.
And I think Jarrell and the team here, you're going to continually be updated on this. I think they're just going to be getting started over the course of 26, so you'll get regular updates on things as they come to the MPO. I think we're going to transition to what I think is probably the most substantively helpful thing, and that's you're going to be able to move around the room and talk to the staff about some of the things that you're going to be working on and hear what that you were doing in this region. So with that, I'll hand it over to Warren to sort of outline the practice of how we're going to do this. And we're actually, Warren, ahead of schedule, which means we'll have maybe a little more time to move around the room.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Bo. So we are, as Bo said, we're going to give you a chance to have some smaller one-on-one conversations around these 4 areas. In just a moment, I'm going to ask the staff to come on up and just share a little bit so everybody gets to hear what these topics are about. But I'll go ahead and just let you know that we're going to have these 4 stations. The first one is on the transportation improvement program. And so Travis and Neil are going to be able to lead that with you. And there's also some more information in your board handbook, again, on the transportation improvement program. There's going to be a second station, and that one is on the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. Will Snyder is going to lead that for you. And again, more information on this is in your board handbook on page 10. The third group is going to be on the strategic plan, a framework for our future. And I believe Brian and Jarrell are going to be leading that. And then our fourth group is on Beyond 77 and the Seam Trail. And so that one is going to be led by Kendall, Curtis, and Emily. All right, so you have these 4 stations, and we're going to be moving you around the room. You're going to be in some small groups, and you're going to have some good conversation. The way it's going to work, I'll give you the instructions in just a moment. But what I'd like to orient you to are pages 8 through 16 in your workbook. And we encourage you to take notes in your workbook as you go along and you ask questions, because when you walk out of here, that'll be a good reference for you. So we have this workbook for you to take notes. And what I'd like to do is see if I can ask the staff will give you a microphone there. But maybe we can start with the transportation improvement plan. And each of them are going to just take a minute to get you oriented to this. So Travis Johnson, Neil Burke.
Here we go. All right, we're going to pass this down. Hey, everyone, I'm Travis Johnson with CRTPO. I'm going to be over in Station 1 with Neil, and we're going to be talking about the Transportation Improvement Program. Transportation Improvement Program is the 10-year time frame which we add projects to the State Transportation Improvement Program called the STIP. So we work on the TIP. We are currently in the process to select projects for the TIP is referred to as prioritization. We are currently in the middle of prioritization 8.0, which is going to select projects for the 2028-2037 TIP. So projects are selected through a 3-phase process. Phase 1 is the selection of projects. So highway projects come from our latest adopted fiscally constrained project list for highway projects from the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and the non-highway projects are selected from locally adopted plans. Those are submitted to NCDOT, where they're reviewed and ranked against the entire state and region and divisions. And then we apply local input points to identify local interest in the projects, which is what we will engage in 2026. And then in 2027, next year, we'll have the new draft TIP and STIP, which we will go through the process of adopting, and we'll start prioritization 9.0 direct after that. So if you have questions about the prioritization process or how the TIP and the STIP work together, we'll be over there to answer those questions.
Hey everyone, good evening. Will Snyder, Transportation Planner with the CRTPO. I'm going to be talking about the Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. We call that the CSAP. This is a plan that was made possible through a $3.15 million federal discretionary program called the Safe Streets and Roads for All program. We applied for this grant in-house and were awarded this successfully for our entire planning area. And this is really aimed at addressing the prevalence of high crash, serious and fatal crash rates in our planning area. So in the last year, that amounts to about 65,000 crashes that occurred in all 3 counties. And so this is a serious problem that many of our member jurisdictions, staff from your communities have indicated to us as a priority. So this will be a regional blueprint to help reduce those crashes, and we'll be working with our consultant to be out in your communities, conducting public engagement, working with your staff to conduct analysis and set some local priorities, as well as tie those back into the regional blueprint. So each community will get a essentially like a Vision Zero plan. We're calling it a Safety Action Plan. Vision Zero plan is a pretty common term too. Your community will receive one if you don't have one already, and that will link directly back to our regional document. So this is a really exciting opportunity in a way that we want to provide technical assistance to you all.
Good evening. My name is Brian Elgort. I am the Project Implementation Coordinator for the CRTPO, and this evening I'll be talking to you all about our strategic plan. It was initially adopted in 2021, but just this past November, the board adopted a brand new update to the strategic plan, which included revising strategies, adding new ones, and reframing sort of how we structure the strategic plan. So we'll be talking about our high priority strategies and how the strategic plan informs all of the CRTPO's plans and programming.
Good evening, everyone. I am Kendall Clan, the transportation engineer, as well as the project manager for the Beyond 77 initiative. The core goal of the Beyond 77 program is to improve the mobility of the I-77 corridor without touching the interstate itself. Back in 2022, the board adopted our final report, which included numerous short-term, medium-term, and long-term recommendations. In 2025, we launched the Beyond 77 Coalition to help prioritize and implement those strategies and solutions. The coalition is made up of 2 subcommittees: the advisory committee, which is made up of TCC member jurisdictions within the I-77 corridor, and the executive committee, which is made up of board member jurisdictions within the I-77 corridor. So that would be Statesville, Huntersville, Mooresville, Pineville, Charlotte, Cornelius, and a few others. This year, we're hoping to launch our Linking Land Use and Transportation Planning educational series for our TCC and board members, as well as the business group. We're hoping to bridge the gaps between our organization and the business community and help collaborate on some projects.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Curtis Bridges, Planning Project Coordinator with CRTPO. Many of you all have heard tale of the SEAM here recently. The SEAM is a 70-plus mile greenway trail and corridor running north-south throughout the region. Trail starts at Statesville on the northern end, ends in Pineville in the South Carolina state line at the southern end. Recent years have seen us working on high-level planning and planning-level design on the SEAM corridor. We recently completed a SEAM advancement study in 2024. We formed a SEAM advisory committee, actually in 2025. We're working with your staff to flesh out some SEAM design in your respective jurisdictions. Mecklenburg County is building out some SEAM trail segments now. Thinking of Huntersville, for example, which is working on some rezonings and SEAM design in their downtown. Mooresville is doing the same in their downtown. Statesville has some really good visions for what that SEAM corridor looks like approaching their downtown from the southern end. So we're going to be involved in that heavily over the next few years. Our ask of you is that you stay engaged in the SEAM, stay engaged with us. Please continue to prioritize the SEAM. We really do see it as being a signature trail, a signature corridor for the region. It's going to expand connectivity and options for our residents. And we hopefully can count you among the trail ambassadors and champions that we'll have over the next few years. With that, I think we will look forward to your questions.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and give you some instructions. Thank you all very much. And so we'll go ahead and ask the staff at this time to move to their stations. But let me give you quick instructions, you, the board. You're going to grab your workbook, and you're going to be just thinking, you're going to have about 5 minutes at each station. And at the station, you have a chance to ask questions, talk to the staff member a little bit more about these projects. Again, we realize 5 minutes isn't a lot of time, but we just want to introduce these to you, give you a chance to start to learn more. You'll have time to follow up with staff afterwards. And so on the back of your name tag, or on your name tag, there should be a number, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And if you can't read your name tag looking down, just get the person next to you to tell you what your number is. All right? So that number, we're pre-assigning you, so you can't hang out with your friends during this exercise. We want to mix you up. So everybody who has a 1, you're going to start with 1. Everybody who's a 2, you'll start over there. 3 is in the back of the room, and 4 is over here. So we'll let you know when 5 minutes is up. Please bring your workbook, give you a chance to ask some questions, learn some more. And then please remember, we're going to come back out, and we're going to finish up with a couple of important things that we want to share at the end of this. So with that, enjoy your station conversations. I can get everyone, we want to go ahead and wrap on time. And I know in the back here, if we can go ahead and just finish up. Oh, thank you. Yeah. All right. We'll go ahead and if we can bring everybody's attention here to the front. All right, so I'm going to start over here, Station 1, and just ask if you can give us maybe a minute of what were some of the, what was important, what were some of the important conversations or questions that came up across the four groups. And yeah, thank you, Emily.
Hey, so we were Station 1, Travis and I, covering the Transportation Improvement Program, or P8.0. So we had really good discussions with the four groups. Things like, where do you find the list of projects and maps for the current round, P8? And we also offered up, we're a liaison to your jurisdiction. So if you want to meet with us about the projects that are, have been submitted for P8, you want us to make maps of these projects through your jurisdictions, lists, we're happy to do that. We talked a lot about funding shortfalls and being strategic about these legacy projects that we have in terms of working with our NCDOT division staff and making sure that we're submitting competitive projects. So what that might mean is you might have a corridor project, you adjust the project limits, or you consider doing some value engineering. Our NCDOT division partners are really valuable in coordinating that with us. I think that's a lot of it. We talked a little bit about the coordination between NCDOT and MPOs in amending the Transportation Improvement Program or the State Transportation Improvement Program. And yeah, I think that's really about it. We talked about the P8 schedule for this year. Obviously, we've submitted those projects. NCDOT is scoring them. So some of the big upcoming actions for the board later on this year is the allocation of local input points. We'll have public involvement around that. So Travis, did I miss anything? Anything you want to add?
Notice really what's emphasized in 2026, the board's going to be opening the public comment periods for the application of local input points. The local input points are going to come as a recommendation from the TCC, and then we're anticipating having that draft TIP and STIP in 2027, and then we're going to start the whole process over again for P9.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Neil. Thanks, Travis. We'll go over to Station 2. Give us a recap of what was important that came out of that.
All right, so we had the CSAP section, and we organized our notes in questions, concerns, and ideas. So we had the majority of those being questions with a lot of great questions and answers. So the first one was, how does my municipality get a safety action plan, or can I get a safety action plan? And so the answer is yes, and the second question to that was, is it a top-down approach or bottom-up? And the answer to that is bottom-up. We empower the jurisdictions and give them the resources they need to create their own safety action plan, but it's not something that we're telling you how to do it or the manner in which it should be done. A few of the other questions were, how do my residents get involved in this process? And so there are a couple different ways. One is that there's a resident advisory group that will be starting as a part of this process. The other is just inviting your CRTPO staff members, namely me and Judy, to your jurisdictions for whatever community events you have, festivals. The more fun, the better, of course, but also any neighborhood group meetings that you think are important for us to appear at as well would be great for us to get the word out about this, because we know that there's those certain residents, those usual suspects, we all know them, that really are into this kind of stuff and they have great opinions, and we want those residents to be a part of our process. We had a question about whether this approach is reactive or proactive, and the answer is both. We're implementing a high injury network in order to see which parts of the communities are the most dangerous and need improving, but also using risk analysis to see different intersections and see what is missing from those intersections, what infrastructure improvements can be made in order to avoid it being on that high injury network in the future. We got a question about how does behavior play into this, because we can make all the changes we want to infrastructure, but speeding and not being attentive and not knowing how to use roundabouts all plays a factor into it as well. And so there is programming in the CSAP for educational programming and working there's part of the programming for driver's education as well, and working with other organizations in order to implement that programming. So we had some concerns about visibility and other environmental factors and how we can best mitigate traffic accidents when the weather isn't great, as we heard from a story from Mayor Rusty Knox in Davidson, as well as especially some of our rural jurisdictions where visibility is just really low at night. And then we had a couple of great ideas about a one-pager on DOT structure and additional signage for RCIs and other improvements to help people navigate those without educational programming. So that's what we heard.
Excellent. Thank you all. All right. We'll come back here and we'll get the highlights. Thank you for bringing the mic over from the strategic plan.
Thank you, Merritt. I was going to try to use a table mic, but this is better. So we don't have any sticky notes on the strategic plan poster, and I think that's partially because this was just recently adopted in 2025 in November, so a lot of people had just heard about this. But some of the questions that came up were about individual strategies and how those would end up being implemented. We got a lot of interest in the regional data systems and talking about how we'll be working with our partners to create more consistent data sources across our region because our counties produce different data. And so we'll be working with modeling teams to decide sort of what data sources we want to use and how we can best implement those. We also had some interest in the Phase 2 Staffing and Resources Study Board Workshop, which will be coming up shortly for y'all. This will be a workshop in which you guys review the results and the recommendations from the Phase 2 Staffing and Resources Study and prioritize and help support us in implementing those. And then the last one I'll touch on is the joint CRTPO, Gaston, Cleveland, Lincoln MPO Coalition, which is formally going to be called the Joint Legislative Priorities Coalition, and how the CRTPO will be supporting them. I believe the coalition will be kicking off in 2 weeks. And the whole drive behind this coalition is to create consistent messaging for speaking with business community, with legislators and others about the needs for not only the CRTPO region, but including Gaston, Cleveland, Lincoln to widen sort of the impact of those statements.
All right, thank you. So we'll come over to Beyond 77 and the SEAM.
Hello, everyone. Did not get many comments or questions on the Beyond 77 poster, but did get some supports, and they're looking forward to the Linking Land Use Education Series that we hope to start in April and May. Do like to reiterate that Beyond 77 has no connection to the I-77 North or South projects. I can't help with the price gouging. I'm sorry. But yeah, didn't get much comments, but no majority of people in the room know about Beyond 77 and the things that we're doing.
All right, so with the SEAM, we did get some good input from folks. One person asked kind of a clarifying question, is the SEAM the same thing as the Carolina Thread Trail? And it is. It's one of the main spines for the Carolina Thread Trail. So there's a pretty significant overlap and connection there. Got some good input that one of our towns, in particular Mooresville, is encouraging collaboration between developers and SEAM Trail implementation. So some of that work is already going on, not just in Mooresville, some of the other towns too. Some of the non-villes also have some work going on. A few folks wanted or suggested doing a little more education to help explain the project to people, help explain the value of trails and the value of active transportation. This is a transportation facility for connecting people, connecting 8 of your downtowns. And we also need to emphasize the quality of life benefit and some of the safety and health benefit that comes from a corridor like this. And then one of our final questions is there was an emphasis on how much is built. Some of it is built, and we're crossing off segments all the time. Some interest in kind of the follow-up. When will it be built and complete? Didn't want to promise that, but it did take me to another kind of, not story, but if you think about the Cross Charlotte Trail, the Cross Charlotte Trail started out as a planned 26-mile corridor that started off kind of slowly, started picking off little pieces of it, but once the momentum got going, it filled out pretty quickly, and it just about, I think it's complete now. And we can envision that same thing, hopefully, for the SEAM Trail. So that's what we heard, and thank you all for your input.
Thank you guys very much. I want to give everybody a round of applause. Thank you. All right. I'm going to pull our panelists up. Will, if you'll bring your team, Wayne and Andrew, come on up to sit at the table here. But before I introduce the next group, I want to remind you all, look at the exit survey at the front of the workbook. If you would, just go ahead and do the UPC code on that and give some feedback so that we can continue to continuously improve, right? Is that the phrase we like, Bob? And do better in the future. And then secondly, that member academy survey, it's important. You can fill that out and just leave it behind or do the UPC. So, all right, so we've learned about what you're going to do and how you're going to work collaboratively. And now I'm actually going to turn this session over to Will Snyder, who is on your team here at CRTPO, to talk about the discretionary grant program. So they've got money for you. That's always nice, right, Will? Joining Will, I'll just quickly introduce Wayne Herron from Cornelius, a former chair of the TCC, currently serving on the TCC, and the current chair, Andrew, from, remind me again, I'm blanking.
Troutman.
Oh, right, of course, from Troutman, of course, Troutman. Thank you, Andrew. So they're going to should work with it, Will, to describe this and talk about how to get into it.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. So before we get into our panel, I want to first acknowledge that I'm not the program manager for the discretionary grants program. If I was, I would have massive shoes to fill because Jennifer Stafford is our amazing staff person that's designated to maintain and work with you all on this program. She is out sick tonight, so my best wishes to her on her recovery from that illness. But in the meantime, I'm going to do my best to help summarize what this timeline looks like and how some good examples of how some of our member communities have benefited from this program. So I have a little animation for you all. So we're in this car together, and we're here figuring out the timeline of how the discretionary grant program works. So basically, it all starts off each August, and that's where we open our call for projects. We call it the annual call, and this is where we really announce that opening at TCC and board meetings, so there is broad transparency about when that is taking place. And staff takes this time to preview funding availability and the schedule for how the discretionary grants program will take place that year. So you will all receive this update during your regular board meetings. This will come to your staff in email. It'll come to you in email. It'll be in your agenda packets. There's really very little way that you would miss this information when the call opens. We then keep pulling along, and we go next to, by mid-October, we have what's called pre-submittal meetings. So this is our way to work with your communities before you've even submitted applications to ensure that we're not setting you up for failure. So we're not just kind of allowing your staff to throw darts at a board and see what hits. We want to be sure that the scope and design of your projects are as successful as possible to score well for our discretionary grants program. So we schedule those meetings with staff for those pre-submittals. They're about 30 to 60 minute just previews of those projects, quick and easy, and many of your staff have done these with us before, so they should be very familiar with kind of what that looks like. Then our call closes, and so at that point, staff takes that list and we share that with our TCC in kind of a TCC committee that reviews the project submittals. So we get an idea of, again, that funding availability and the demand for projects that were submitted, and we share that information through, again, that TCC committee there. And so ultimately, we huddle in as a staff, and in accordance with our scoring guide, we have a discretionary grants policy guide that is on our website. It very objectively scores those projects. So there's no subjectivity about, oh, we want to move a little bit more money over here, or, you know, we'll handshake and decide that this project gets funds. Very data-driven, very objective in terms of how we're awarding those. And so we have that TCC workshop. Those scores are calculated using the policy guide and the funding availability, and ultimately that takes place around in November, but ultimately we work ourselves to a recommended project list by December. That is, again, information that the TCC and the board receives, first for information and then for approval to release those funds. So then we come to our next step. Again, you're getting that information just as a preview, plenty of space to ask questions, to work with your TCC members on your questions, and then we move right into the approval of that. So you're taking action to actually approve those projects, and we award those. So this is a very successful annual program. We've had lots of great success in seeing some really fantastic local projects come out of this, which is where we are going to talk to Wayne and Andrew over here about some of what that looks like. Another note, too, is we have to amend our TIP and our state transportation improvement program, also called our STIP. That just really ensures that the funding is allocated for in our long-range state transportation improvement program. Okay? All right, so with that, let me back that up. We're gonna go ahead and run through some quick panel questions and really just focus on some of the successes of this program. And so for Wayne and Andrew, whoever wants to kind of tackle this first question, the first question really being, how did you coordinate with your board, with your local community before deciding to apply for discretionary funds?
Well, full disclosure, both Wayne and I were on the 2019 Discretionary Policy Steering Committee, so we kind of had a little bit of intimate knowledge about the policy. So we kind of knew a little bit more than some of the other TCC members might. But anyhow, with my jurisdiction, it all started with an outdated comprehensive transportation plan. When I started with the town of Troutman about 2021, I took a peek at the current 2009 CTP, and let's just say it really didn't make any sense, and it had been surpassed many times by the growth of the town. So I just took that document, basically brought it to my town council and said, we can't really do much with this, but I have an idea. The discretionary policy with CRTPO, we can get a new plan and only provide 20% of the funding. And with the policy, up to 1% of the total funds are for plans. We can get this adopted, we can get a brand new plan, and then we can use that to maybe move into capital projects. And it just happened to, we did that in 2023. We were awarded funds for this new plan. We called it our mobility plan. One of the things in our mobility plan was to rank intersection projects. Well, it just happened that plan was completed right before the 2024 fall call for discretionary funds. So I took that new plan, went to my town board, said, look, this intersection right here scored very highly. It was wanted by the community. We all know there's some transportation problems at this intersection. Why don't we take this particular project and try to get capital funding from the 2024 fall call for discretionary funds? We just happened to be lucky enough that the project scored high enough with the data-driven process that Will was explaining, and lo and behold, within a 2-year period, we had a plan funded, and then we had an actual capital project funded. So we were able to take advantage of that just using what was given to us, what's offered by the CRTPO and the discretionary policy.
So and I'm from Cornelius, so our first foray into discretionary funding, we had 7 projects, and Cornelius is like many of you, congestion is our worst. That's what our citizens complain about the most, congestion. I laughed because I said at LNTC last night, I was taking my wife somewhere the other night, and she said, man, traffic is terrible. Somebody needs to do something about this. And I said, man, do you not know what I do every day? And she said, well, you're not doing a very good job of it. So, but we went to the town board, and those 7 projects, and I mentioned earlier, sometimes it takes 10 to 12 years to get a project done. So by that time, the cost had increased so much. DOT had come to us and said, well, we budgeted 19 million. You're going to have to put in 7 more if you want this project. So our board said, okay, it's important enough. We're going to put that in. So our total that we put in for the 7 projects was close to 60 million. But our board said, hey, it's important enough to our citizens. We have got to put in that 60 million. Now, like I told everybody last night at Lake Norman Transportation, our budget is only 32 million. So 60 million is difficult for us. We sold transportation bonds, we did everything we could, but we still wanted to lower our match amount. Now, and one thing I will say is that in general, when Andrew and I wrote the rules, we said the match amount would be 20%. But we said if you put more in, you'll score better. So my board said, we want to make sure we get that money. So I apologized to everyone. Cornelia said, hey, we're going to put 50% in. Well, then everybody else had to say, well, my gosh, we got to put 50% in if we're going to compete with Cornelius. So I apologize for that, but we did that. So we put 50% in just to guarantee we would get those discretionary dollars. So those discretionary dollars we were awarded, and it is helping us immensely. It has brought our match down to about 44 million. Now that's still a huge chunk, but we are so thankful for the discretionary dollars. If we didn't have those, our match would be 60 million. So we brought it down significantly. We appreciate that money. And of course, those of you who have signed a contract with DOT, not only do we get those discretionary dollars, but we're responsible for any overages. So we hope to God there's no overages. We hope the projects stay where they're at. But that's how we found out about the discretionary. And we're very thankful that CRTPO has that extra money or discretionary money every year and that we can qualify for it.
Awesome. Thank you both. And we'll just touch on one more question, which maybe you've kind of brushed on in your last response, which is, what resources have really helped your community apply for the discretionary grants program? And that may be monetary, as you just touched on, Wayne, but in terms of local community input or input from your local elected officials, what has really helped back your ability to apply for these funds?
So I'll go first here and then let Andrew go. But I have very active elected officials, and they listen to everything that you guys say. So they come back and tell us, hey, CRTPO has this grant program. Make sure we're involved. And so we go over every grant program with a fine-tooth comb to make sure it fits one of our needs. We try not to apply frivolously, but that's the biggest resource is our elected official coming back and saying, hey, did you hear about this? And so that's how we evaluate and come down here and try to tap into it.
Well, I mean, it might sound funny, but in a way, social media, because we have a board that just gets poked and poked and poked at about the transportation problems. And Ms. Qualls mentioned traffic in every jurisdiction that's sitting in this room tonight. After a while, I think the council just gets tired of getting beat up, and they start looking at ways that they can at least start to help the problem. And, we can't rely on NCDOT all the time because there's funding problems that they have. So the town has to look at ways that they can, help and alleviate some of the issues with the citizens and the community. So I say that almost half jokingly, but seriously, I think social media gave our board the push to start to look seriously at maybe starting to apply for some of these funds.
Awesome. Thank you both. As I missed earlier, I was just thinking, this is a very helpful program, as we've heard, for local projects. I didn't share the amount. So we typically manage and allocate about $30 to $50 million per year out of this program. So that's to say those pre-submittal meetings, the opportunity and time we take to work with each of you to really ensure that your project at least receives some funding is really our goal. So we want to be sure that we're working as closely with you for this to be as successful as possible. But thanks to our panelists, and really appreciate your time touching on this timeline a little bit.
All right, so we've reached the end of the program, and we're going to close it out. And we hope that this has been helpful at a high level for those of you who are new about why this work matters, what the work is that you do, how you can be engaged, how you can be successful as a board member. I'm going to give you the mic here and turn over to Neil.
Thank you, Warren. So just a brief look ahead at our first quarter action items that are coming before the CRTPO board. So we do have our meeting next Wednesday, and for those that are new, generally our CRTPO board meetings are the third Wednesday of each month, beginning at 6 o'clock in this room. So the meeting next week, we only have one action item, and that is the election of chair and vice chair for the 2026 calendar year. So then moving into the February 18th board meeting, we will have action on the discretionary grants project award. You just heard about that from Andrew, Will, and Wayne. You will receive an information report about that draft project list that's been put together next week, but action to approve that list and amend the TIP will be at our February board meeting. Also at our February board meeting, we're requesting action of the board to support NCDOT's safety targets as part of the performance-based planning process, which is a federal requirement. It's something that we have to take action on every year. Will be presenting an information report about that at our meeting next week as well. March is a big meeting for us. We have the adoption of the 2055 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which you all heard about a little bit tonight, and also the adoption of the FY27 Unified Planning Work Program, which you've heard about. That's our annual budget. And I did hear that the League of Municipalities is hosting their annual conference, and it coincides with the March board meeting. So I will be polling our board members at the meeting next week to see if we have a lot of absences. We may need to consider shifting our meeting, but my hope is that we can keep it as scheduled the third Wednesday in March. And then just two other brief reminders. I sent you all an email on the 2nd. Every voting member is required to file a statement of economic interest and a real estate disclosure form. Those are two separate forms with the State Ethics Commission. Now, new members must file those immediately to avoid penalty. Returning members have until April 15th, but again, I would encourage you all to file those sooner rather than later. I checked the compliance report today. We have about 7 of our 45 voting members that have completed that. If you have questions, please reach out to me. What I'll likely do is refer you to Suzanne Singh. She's our state ethics liaison. She's an excellent resource. She'll help you get those forms filed in a matter of minutes. Really doesn't take very long. And then lastly, to close us out, just remember to take the exit survey. Let us know how we did with the orientation, any improvements we can make when we do this again in 2 years. And once again, thanks for joining us tonight. Really looking forward to the collaboration and some of the challenges we may face with the board. I think this has really set us up for success this year, and I'll turn it over to Warren.
And I'm going to turn it over to Brad to close us out. Inspire us.
Listen, thank y'all for coming. It's been really helpful for me to get a refresher. Y'all go home and get some sleep. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Will, what's your phone number? Because